thank you so much for having me this morning. Like Nathan was saying, my name is Tirle. I'm originally from Romania. I'm here in the United States. I came 6 years ago. I'm currently in law school, my third year. Hopefully I'll graduate in May, and after that take the bar exam. But I came to tell you this morning about some children that have impacted my life. About 7 years ago, while I was still in Romania, a friend took me to an orphanage one day. I've never been to an orphanage at that point, even though there are many around me in Eastern Europe. And what I saw there changed my life. It really did. Before that, I had that, like any other person on the street, that compassion towards orphan children. That's so sad of them, to live in an orphanage. But then when I went there and I saw the pain and suffering, it just put on my shoulders something that I gotta do something for these kids. So many of you probably remember how it used to be in this working. Let's just start. Okay, now. This is how it used to be back in the early 90s. Probably some of you saw on TV after the revolution, after communism fell, we had a huge crisis with orphanages in Romania. Many of these places were just basically death camps for these children. They were going there dying because of starvation, because of cold, because of malnutrition, everything. Things have changed over the years, not too much, unfortunately. This is how a typical orphanage looks right now. If you go right now to Romania, this is how the children will look, kind of what the rooms will look. It's different now. The government, pretty much everything's run by the government. Government-run facilities, institutions. The problem is this, and that's why I came to talk to you today about. This is the issue. These children at 18 years old, they are given about $300 and they're sent on the street by themselves. With no family, because if they had a family, they wouldn't be there in the first place, right? No support. A lot of time, no solid education, because there was no one there to help them, to mentor them, to prepare them, to watch, to keep them accountable in school. You had children, most of you, I'm sure, had children, and you know that your children probably, and I was the same, wouldn't do homework, wouldn't study hard unless someone was there to tell them, you better study, you better do that. Well, these children don't have those kind of people around them. So they don't have that motivation and drive to do well, to be diligent, because no one's there watching them. No one cares if they study or not. So that makes them perform poorly in school, and also after they get out of the institution, the orphanage, it's hard for them to get scholarships to go to universities, or many times they don't know a skill, a trade, because again, no one was there to teach them. Because as of right now, the situation is that the government is only concerned about feeding these children and giving them a shelter and some clothes on them. But it's much more than that. It's much more than that. And these are some of the things one of the most recent statistics made by the Romanian government. Only half of the children in Romania, in the orphanages, go to school or kindergarten. For 21% of orphanages do not celebrate at all children's birthdays. Of those who celebrate children's birthday, only half of the children receive any gifts for their birthday. Half of the children say they have been physically abused by a colleague, by an older child, by a counselor, by someone. And this is something that really, 20% of the children who answered on that survey said that they cannot remember a beautiful day in their life, or say that they never had one. This is something Ion Predescu, he's the executive director of the largest children's aid project in Romania. This is what he said. I would say that at least 80% of the girls from Bucharest homes end up as prostitutes. Some studies I've read, I found, say about 6 out of 10 girls, this is probably a conservative study, 6 out of 10 girls become you end up in prostitution. Eastern Europe, we have this huge problem. And then also 7 out of 10 boys become hardened criminals. This past summer when I was home, I visited one of these boys from the orphanage, and he was in prison. These are other children over there, kind of you can see. This is the problem. This is what, you know, what happens after they leave the orphanage. This is what happens, and this is the fears they deal with. Here are some of the things they said. Until I am 18, I will live here, but I don't know what I will do after. I think they will send me on the street. This is Natalia, 17 years old. Another lady said, with the money, $150, I had to find rent. But everyone asked for at least 2 months deposit. It was not enough. It's actually Christian, 20 years old. I heard this girl say this. What will happen with me after I reach 18? Lydia, 17. When I left the orphanage, I didn't really have a choice of what to do next. Nikolai, this is 28, he's been out of for a while now. So this is the problem. These children are leaving the orphanage without any support, without being prepared, without being trained, without being able to face the challenges of the world. It's hard for Romanian children who grew up in good families and stable families to make it in that economy. Because I'm from there, I know, and you probably saw on the news, how situations are around the world. Even more, it's harder for these children. So, this is what I think should be done. First of all, this is an orphanage. We can't tackle the problems of the world all at once. This is one orphanage that I've been working with them. I've been visiting them. Actually, last summer I brought one of the kids. I brought him to the United States with me. We toured around D.C. He went at a camp in Missouri. The best time of his life. Best time of his life. He spent here about 5 weeks, and he's from the orphanage of Bratka. There's a village in Romania, about an hour from my hometown, Bratka. This is where you would see the red dot over there. That's where the orphanage is. Romania, against Romania, where it's located. And at this orphanage, this is kind of how it looks from the outside the village. This is the orphanage over there.
Sir, could you step back?
Yes, I'm sorry, sir. No, this is what I've seen a solution, because I've seen many ways to help these children. I've translated for a lot of groups who have come from the United States, from England, from Western Europe, have come and helped children or did different projects. So I've seen what really helps them and what helps them for a short time. You see, you go there, you give them some clothes, you give them some toys, you give them candy or food. They'll eat the candy, they'll rip the clothes, they'll break the toys. It won't last. To empower, that's why I put a title, Empowering These Children. I believe if we do it through education, you help these children. And this is the solution, in my opinion, and this is the thing I've seen yield the best results, is hiring 1 or 2 tutors who would go there on a weekly basis. Make sure these children are performing well in their school, keeping them accountable. It builds stability in them. It builds accountability in them. Help them, teach them a foreign language, English. If you're Romanian nowadays and you don't know English or French or German, you're stuck. You can't leave the country. It's not like, if you're American, you can travel all around the world, find people speaking English, but it's not the same with other people like I am. So, teaching them English, this is the way to do it. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I was in Romania, I was visiting my family, I was home, I was sitting in church one day, and while the pastor was preaching, I was thinking about something, and this thought came to my mind. I said, statistically, at this orphanage of Bratka, there has to be at least one child who's musically talented. There's always is. In a group of us, there's probably at least 5 people, the minimum, who are musically talented. And I said, let's find out who that child is. So I got a keyboard from my city. I went over there. I put the keyboard at the orphanage. I talked to a girl in the neighborhood village to come help them play, teach them how to play the piano, the keyboard. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. Last summer I was home. And I went to a concert. There were about 300 people in the audience. And the boy who played the piano was one of the boys at the orphanage who started playing then. He's so good now. He practices every day. No one has to tell them. There are about 4 children in that orphanage right now out of 13 who practice every day. He practices every day, doesn't matter. The other 3, you know, kind of swing around. But what I'm saying is that I think there's engineers there, there's doctors there, there's professors, there's lawyers, accountants, everything. We just gotta find the gifts in them and bring them out. And the way to do it is by finding people on the ground who will go there on a weekly basis, people with good heart, people with dedication, who care about the kids, and also follow up with them. So this is the orphanage. They started when they were small. This is kind of this picture is about 7 years ago. It's probably 6 years ago. This is some of the kids, not all of them. Yeah, this is different times I went home over the summers or Christmas. On the right side, we're at the mall. Took them to the mall on the games over there. As you can see, most of them come from gypsy families. There's also another problem with, you know, ethnic issues and everything. So that's a whole different problem in itself. You know, the challenge they face compared to typical Romanian, which are real for them. So this is the orphanage. This is Floating Nail over there. It's basically, like I said, a government-run facility. There are 13 children. There are 8 boys, 5 girls, ages 5 to 18. And there's 1 counselor per shift. And that counselor, you know, is always making food. To feed the kids, they have to feed them 3 times a day. You know, rest, talking on the phone, whatever she's doing. I mean, she tries, but, you know, she doesn't have the time to go on each individual and, you know, make sure they do their thing. And these are some of the other kids. Larissa on the left, on the far left. Krina, she had surgery last summer. She was born with club feet. She had surgery for her. And these are Robi and Woodson. So all these children, you know, they ended up there because their parents, you know, some of them are in prison. Some of the parents are in prison. Some of them, you know, are dead. Some of them just abandoned them in the nursery. Maternity never cared about them. And yeah, this is last time just before I left. Over there with some of them. Yeah. So this is what I believe. Like I was telling you, the solution is to hire someone to be there on the ground. I've been doing it for a while now, but the problem with the tutor I hired now is she's busy with her stuff. She's gone, and I could probably do something small. Because, you know, I'm in law school and everything else, until I graduate at least, until I plan to get my CPA license a year after that. So until then, you know, I'm at a point where I don't have everything I need for these kids. I just don't. That's why I understand there's opportunities to the Rotary Club to help these children. Solution is to hire this tutor to help with homework and also piano lessons. And that tutor will go at least once every Saturday for about 6 hours. For about 6 hours, or we divide it by 2. Depends on the funding. Also it really depends on the funding. That's the bottom line, is depend on the funding, how much we can put together. And the pay would be about $120 per month plus gas expense to drive over there. Gas is, by the way, $6.50, you know, per gallon. So that's another thing. Yeah. That's why some people live in America, you know. There's many other good things to do. And we would just, and this is how logistically it would work out. Put it like in an account here in the United States to the Rotary Club or the law firm. Brian would take care of that, and from there it was wired straight to the tutor. So it wouldn't go to me, it wouldn't go to anyone, just straight to the tutor. I would have different people over there back home interview and, you know, based on recommendations, find the right person, the right, probably a lady, young lady would go there all the time, every week. So that would logistically follow quarterly reports along with pictures to tell you about how the kids are doing, how's the process. And this is my, you know, a step ahead of this, would probably one day implement like an exchange program. Over the summer, like I brought this kid last summer with me here. You know, if we get together, you know, let's say a family or two families decide, okay, we'll help pay for the plane ticket for this kid. We'll bring him here for, you know, a few weeks, like 3 weeks or so, you know, help show him around America. It's, you know, it's a wonderful thing to come here and change their life, because I think we give them, it expands their horizon. Last summer, I parked the car near Washington, D.C., near the White House. So me and this kid, you know, walking to see the president of the White House, you know. So we parked the car over there. No, we didn't see the president. We just wanted to see the White House. So we were walking to the White House, and he says to me, he says, Daniel, in my life, I would have never thought I would be here. I could come here. You know, it's mind-blowing for them. Florinel, one of the kids, you know, one day I was driving, and he says to me, Daniel, are you our father, Daniel? You know, it brought me really, I don't cry, but it brought me to tears, because I realized the children have no one. And if we don't do something for them, no one's going to do it. Because if they had someone to do it, they wouldn't be an orphanage. So this is what I think is the best solution. And I hope one day you get to meet these kids. I really do. Or next summer or something, hopefully you can come, you know, they might bring one or two here, or you go there, or on vacation you visit them over there. And like I said, logistically I'll follow up with certain people over here. And I don't know if you have any questions right now.
Have you made any contact with the Rotary Club in Bucharest?
Yes.
I made it with the Rotary Club in my hometown. We have a Rotary Club in my hometown. So I talked to them, and they would be willing to help out with that as well. I understand there's some school supplies that we that there's opportunity for them too. So that would, you know, with distribution and everything. So yes, they contacted. I talked to them on the phone, and they said they're willing to work, do whatever they need.
Does anybody else have any questions?
You're back here. You're here.
Dan?
What is the status of enough orphanages to meet the vast need for street kids and so forth? I mean, how does that stand now?
What happens with the street kids many times is that they have families, many times, but the families send them to the city usually to beg. So in the evenings or every few days they take the train and go back to the village. That's how it happens many times with street kids, because otherwise, at least in Romania, you know, the police would take them on or something. But because they have families, they can't just take them and leave. But if they find them, it's a chronic problem, then they'll take them from the parents out and put them in an orphanage. So it's a little bit with street children. I've seen it's a little bit different. I don't know.
Charlie?
Daniel, what is, if we wanted to sponsor a child a year, what are we talking about in funds?
Or you mean sponsoring?
In other words, if we gave you a check for a whole year, what would that consist of?
Well, if you do the math, probably about, I would say, $30, $40 a month, and that $30, $40 a month, and that would, you know, help with that child specifically for his expenses, whatever else, you know, you want to buy him a toy, or you want to, you know, take him to see a movie, you know, the cinema, see a cartoon, or buy him some nice clothes, or, you know, things like that. I think that would what we would talk
You're
about.
talking about if you give a kid $1,000, for example, he'd be in seventh heaven. If I give you a check for $1,000 for a child for a year, you could more than take care of his needs for that whole year.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. I mean,
But more importantly, what Daniel has been talking about is education.
Right.
And we do have an opportunity for another grant, and Clinice talked to the grant person, even though this is international, we may be able to do something. And Clinice has her book, and I sent Daniel, did Ryan give you that? Yeah.
No, not yet.
Ryan's gonna give him, I sent the publisher's copy of Clinice's book that Daniel could translate from English to Romanian, and that would be a book that we would then put together and send, but we can also send school supplies. We're
And
not,
for the tutor.
for the tutor. And so, more importantly than giving money to one child, would be giving funds or items or materials, resources to the orphanage through the Rotary Club.
But isn't it
to
cheaper
part-
to buy it there, Daniel, send you the money and buy it in Romania and ship it to them?
It's however you wanna do it. It's however you wanna do it.
Or with the Rotary.
Yeah.
Yes, it's up to you.
Well, where do
Like
you get
I-
more bang for your buck is what I'm asking.
Excuse me?
Where do you get more bang for your buck? Buying it there, buying it here?
Well, it depends what kind of school supplies we're talking about,
I would
you
put the
know.
grant together.
That also depends. Software is another thing, I'll give you something else. Educational software, you know, programs on a computer that they can listen, go through, that's another very valuable tool, I think, would really help them. Last time I was there, I got 2 computers there, so you should,
That's
have,
interesting.
so that's another.
Okay.
Stacy?
Real quickly, I think this is a phenomenal opportunity for the grant for lots of things. I also would be interested in, as terms of the structure, you provide education, but also the aging out. About how many children age out of this particular orphanage
Given year,
in a given year?
Because this is a small orphanage, just 13,
Right.
we have orphanage with 200 kids in it.
Right, right.
But this one, usually the aging out is by now will be once every 2 years or once every year almost.
So my other opportunity we might want to look into is what would it take to get them into stable housing and get them set up so that they can be successful? Because we can provide all the education they want, and they come out and they're homeless, they're still setting back
Right.
further. So
Yeah.
that would be my other opportunity to explore that
Yeah.
with the education component.
Yeah.
But if we started something small,
Mhm.
and then expand on it,
Yep.
we could then impact a small portion of the population that we know they're gonna get what we send. We know that there's a direct connection, we know that it's not gonna get lost in the pipeline. Jim?
Do you know how active the Rotary Club in your hometown is? Anything about it?
I've seen them several times on like the newspapers. They'll have different events. They'll visit.
Seem to be pretty active.
I would say pretty active. I'm
About
proud of
about how big? About how many members do you have there?
And the pictures, you sometimes see the pictures. It's about I would say 15. 15.
Small one.
Well, I'm getting at the heart of it because until we have somebody on the ground, local Rotary Club, to facilitate making it happen, and we can get that information through our headquarters in Chicago, and maybe make a link through that. But secondly, are we adopting these children into the West? Are they getting adopted, some of them? Adopted by Americans, English?
Not these ones, sir.
Not one.
No one.
Well, is Romania a NATO country?
Yes.
but Romania has stopped, I think, the adoption.
We stopped the adoption in 2004.
Several years ago.
Because
Americans can't adopt.
Because-
Romania.
what happened was the European Union forced our hand. The Romanians didn't want to do it. But there was about 500 children who were, basically reports sold on the black market for their organs. The European Union said to us, if you don't block it, you're not coming into the European Union. And that's why Romania had to stop it. It was not our choice, because the Romanian government wanted to get into the European Union very bad, for the grant, the money, and then that was one of the conditions, So that's the whole, hopefully,
Do you have a dollar amount that you need right now for school supplies and stuff like that for the year?
I would tell you that in America, if you had to buy it from here, I would say about probably $500 with $400, $500, $450. Put it
That's
like
not
that.
the tutor.
That's not a tutor.
That's just a supply.
I think the tutor's a big way to go.
Yep. But we have to also see what the grant would allow.
Because there are about 13 children, like I said, so if you divide,
So if I wrote you a check, hand you a check, and their school supplies?
We would get the school supplies from the Rotary with that check, and we would then connect, as John said, with the Rotary over there, and they would go directly Rotary to Rotary.
It could be a multifaceted
Yes.
project.
But if we start small, and Daniel's our lead in here, we're happy to hear that, Daniel. Great talk, and we really appreciate your coming. Trade off.
Could I ask you one last
sorry,
question, please? We're talking 13 children. Let's say for argument purposes, there are a group of them that are around 6. At 6 years old, you're out of kindergarten. Would it be a goal that we could establish for each one of those children to have them ready to take the gymnasium examination when they become an 8th grader? I think that's when that exam is given.
Yes.
Educating with a future, in my opinion, is important.
Yes. I told them, this is my goal. They learn so well, they know English so well that if they have to take the TOEFL exam or the Cambridge exam, by the time they finish high school, they would get a good grade on it. That's the goal. That's the goal. And also in school, if they have to go get scholarship at the public schools back home, public university. That's the goal. I told them, this is what hopefully will happen.
Well, can the Romanian economy absorb these kids? I mean, how's the country doing economically?
No.
That's why a lot of young people my age are leaving the country.
What are they gonna do with it?
Yeah, it's.
For their future. And
Be much smaller
great
towns this
impactful
year.
discussion. Thank you, Daniel, so
Thank
much.
you.